Hello everyone, and welcome to the exhibition opening for the Charts Prize. My name is Chloe Metcalf and I am the Mills Marketing and Communications Manager. It's so unfortunate that we can't have you physically in our space tonight, but we are very grateful that we can host this virtually. Before we get started tonight, I would just like to acknowledge that we are gathered here today on Kaurna land and pay respect to Kaurna elders past and present. I would also like to thank the Mills funding body, Arts SA, and our very generous donor circle who help us provide our incredible and diverse program. Before I hand over to our wonderful hosts, I would just like to remind you that we have a chat box to the side of the video. If you would like to pop in any questions about the artworks or any comments, or if you're an artist and would like to pop any additional information, please put it in there and we will share during the live stream. Alrighty, so I'm going to hand over to Access to Place Housing Officer Luke Wilco, and also, the Curator of Contemporary Art at the Art Gallery of South Australia, Leigh Rob. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Luke.
Hi, I'm Leigh.
I think we won't spend too much time talking about the reason for charts. Hopefully if you're here you already know about charts and what we're doing, but we're really thrilled to have so much amazing work, both in this exhibition and also there was so much amazing work submitted that we weren't able to have in the exhibition. And it's amazing to see that, and yeah, it's a thrill for me as an art lover to have all of that work coming in. So Leigh and I are basically going to whip around the exhibition, and so it will give everyone watching an opportunity to see all of the work, and we're just going to spend a minute or two on each one. Because we only have an hour and 36 artworks, we unfortunately won't be able to do any or too much in-depth discussion on anyone, but we're really excited to show you through the exhibition, and yeah, we hope you have as good a time as possible doing this like weird sort of live stream thing. This is my first time doing this as well, so
yeah, so come along for the ride. And because there are so many incredible works in the show, if you have any questions or comments, like you really love something, or you're an artist and you're in the audience and you might want to add some comments, please let us know, and as we go along, because rather than holding your questions till the end. So feel free to write in any comments as we go along, and we'll try and build them in or point things out. So yeah.
Chloe does a really excellent wave. She's got a killer wave on her. She's going to give us a wave when we have a question come in. So we'll try and do it as we go.
Great.
Nice.
Well, let's start with some exciting sculpture and work in the window.
So this work is by Rosemary Milton. The name of the work is Troll Vase. You can't see it from where you are, but there's a beautiful pink colour on the inside, and around the outside, all sorts of kind of changing colours as well. I love the palette that she's used.
Yeah, all the sort of the pastels, the greens and the orange, but then building up this wonderful complex textured surface where all the impressions have been made in the clay using some floral and paisley designs, and building and butterflies, and this is very sort of floral, almost a sort of a garden scene on this vase. And to hand build a vase like this at this scale is very complex, and to have all of those elements technically, it's really amazing. And yeah, there's so much interesting sculpture around at the moment. With like experimental sculpture, Virginia Leonard and Glenn Barkley, and I see this in that sort of tradition of really experimental and exciting sculpture. So yeah, well done, Rosemary. It's fantastic work.
Great. And moving on to Annette Casado. This one's self-portrait, me and art. It's actually a self-portrait, a painting of a portrait of herself when she was 4 years old, painting at kindergarten, which is super sweet. I mean, like the technical capacity in this painting is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the tone that she's got through, and it's very tonal realistic.
Yeah, very very accomplished with the painting of the of the face and the portrait, but then you've got the wonderful pattern in the dress and the folds and the fabric and the cardigan. But it's, I loved when we just found out that it's goes back to when she, the early 1970s, and it's a self-portrait from a photograph. And then it also has her first, probably very early drawings as well. So it's like a time capsule of the journey of an artist.
This
really,
painting of her painting here is so beautiful. I love how a child sees the world and their representation of shapes and all of it's really, really fantastic.
Yeah. So a really terrific composition, but also goes back in time as well, but shows what a great painter Annette Casado is. So yeah, fantastic work.
Nice marker of her start of her journey
as an artist to
where she is now.
Yeah.
This one here is Rex Stewart Anderson. It's titled Mylar Massacre, which is a pretty heavy topic. A massacre
during the
Vietnam War committed by American soldiers, where hundreds of Vietnamese people were murdered. So a pretty heavy topic, but an important one to talk about. And Rex is himself, I guess, a bit of a political activist in his paintings.
Yeah, and you can see this through capturing an incredibly sort of poignant and distressing moment, but capturing the sort of the pathos. And he said he saw a documentary which really affected him and stayed with him, and he's always been against the Vietnam War, and in a way this is a memorial perhaps in a way to that time and to the people whose lives were lost in that terrible massacre. But some of the your colleagues have said that that Rex is also you're really interested in Impressionism, and you can see some of the interests or legacies of the sort of the colour work that Cézanne or Van Gogh might use, and these incredibly accomplished sort of line work and colour swatches, and then that incredible sort of stream of light coming through in the middle of the painting. So
I mean that was the thing that kind of set the Impressionists apart, was that how they represented light in painting, eh?
And the passing, the light over time as well. But this is just an incredible painting as well. Yeah. Great.
Well done, Rex. We'll move around the corner now. Come with us on a journey through time.
Do you want to go that side?
Yeah, I'll go this side. Sounds good. So this work is Annette Chand, and it's called Australian History, A Moment in Time, Dingo Holden Car. And I believe this was a moment that was captured at the Cudley Creek Conservation Park. Annette is known around Adelaide famously as the Dingo Whisperer. You heard that here first, maybe?
Yeah.
To get a dingo to do that at just the right time and be able to capture it is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And there's another shot later in the exhibition of a pretty amazing moment that's captured by a camera as well.
Yeah, so all about exceptional timing and having the vision and the ability to capture a moment at the right time. And they've got that iconic rusting Holden, which is also so much an icon of South Australia as well, and in this reserve and a real quintessentially Australian subject matter.
And really that colour palette as well that is so representative of Australia and the browns
and then how the dingo, some of the sort of the paint as it's wearing in the rust of the car and the sort of beautiful markings on the dingo. So there's that's also a lovely moment, I think. Yeah. Well done, Annette. Some very talented Annettes in this show.
There are some talented Annettes.
Yeah.
We might need to have an Annette category for next year.
Next time, yeah. All the talented Annette artists.
So the next work is here by Edward Nitrikanga, and this one's called Art of Africa, and it is 3D sculptural work. So really, I hope throughout the course of the stream you'll be able to catch the other sides of it as well to get the full 360 view. But there's some really beautiful colours and patterns through this one. Yeah, and I think from Edward's notes from growing up in Africa and works as a painter, painting homes, but has this incredible practice at the same time where he's captured a lot of iconic sort of headdresses and dress from Africa as well, and in this really wonderful sculpture which is has 4 sides and really tells so many different stories, and shows his fantastic painting technique as well. So it's a wonderful work to sort of move around as well. You get a sense of the landscape and trees and a whole lot of wonderful figures and portraits as well. Yeah, this was one of the works when it was first submitted. I was receiving the submissions, but not on the judging panel. But I saw this one and I was really blown away by it.
Yeah.
And thought, wow, I really hope this one this is amazing. It really took me. I guess just the colours that he's chosen to use and the patterns around it, and I guess it's even better in the flesh as well. So
it's so vibrant and dynamic, and it's a terrific work.
All right.
Yes.
Next on the list, we have Swift.
Oh yeah, Tay-Tay.
By Robert Martin. Yeah, Tay-Tay. That's right.
Yeah. We were talking about how interesting the painting technique is, and the great sort of use of contrasting colours, and maybe even particularly the sort of the pinks against the acid greens, and then the representation of the hair. But so interesting to see how that portrait has is very sort of it's sort of like a poster or something.
Yeah, it's been through a couple of different lives in its journey to be what it is now.
Lives and layers, like. And great sort of technique, and
the moments here of the pink and yellow and the pink and green, and then into the purpley browny and eyes, like the colours kind of colliding together make a really
and it's like so much detail that you sort of need to move back so you can sort of read it all at once. No, it's really I think it's a great portrait. Would make a great album cover, I reckon.
Taylor's representatives, if you're watching, you can contact us.
You saw it here.
That's right. Next up we have this Eaglet by Joy Sedaskis. So this one is actually a ceramic work. It's a pewter glazed stoneware.
It's really a very accomplished hand built ceramic vessel with really great technique working the feathers and all of that very sort of careful line work and detail to represent the eagle. And I think I think they were inspired by by doing a project about eagles, and then have built this into this really fantastic vessel as well as a sculpture of an eagle.
And the pewter glaze really makes it pop.
Yeah, and brings out all of the texture in the surface as well. So, and I think I was reading that this is just one of their areas of interest.
Oh yeah. Joy does artwork across a number of media. So I actually now we're saying this, I remember having a conversation with her at the awards night. She's saying, I really had a difficult time in deciding what to submit because I've so much art that I'm making and I don't know what to submit. So we're excited to see what else you're doing.
Love to see what else you're doing. If this is what you do in ceramics, I can't imagine what you're doing in painting and who knows, textiles. Imagine all sorts of things.
Nice one. Next we have Coral Stremple.
Beautiful landscape. And
yes, her painting Sailing By. So I think this is again we have a lot of fairly iconic.
Port Lincoln.
Oh, Port Lincoln. Okay, there you go. A lot of really iconic Australian landscape throughout the exhibition, and this is another really great example. Yeah,
and a great contrast of techniques. I love the sort of building up the thick oil and sort of impasto and working into the surface of the paint, and you can really see that sort of the texture, but then contrasting against that really sort of still serene bay with just a little signal of a boat sailing by and the sort of wisps or sort of whispers of clouds moving through the sky. So a really nice contrast of techniques,
Yeah, absolutely. That's an amazing point. So we'll move across here now. Maybe we'll start at the top and work our way down.
Yeah.
So this work at the top here is called Brotherhood. It's by Anna Mohammed Karimi. And I got to meet Anna at the awards night, and she's like super lovely and very enthusiastic, and by the sounds of things, loves just making art, drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing.
Oh, how old is she?
Well, she's entered in the under 18 category, so she's under 18. I don't know exactly, but that's but you can tell that she's quite an accomplished drawer by the variety of techniques around here through the leaves and then the line work through the faces here, and then even behind here there's some quite broad blurred lines and then some finer work underneath it.
Yeah, because it takes a long time to also learn all the different techniques when you're using when you're drawing computer drawing or computer rendering, and figuring out all the tools and techniques and having that sort of control of the the finely illustrated graphic elements, and even like if for anyone who's ever tried to draw a face, it's actually very hard.
Yes.
So,
also, another thing that's really hard to draw is leaves.
Oh, yeah,
that look like leaves, because the line that you get between drawing very distinct leaves that actually don't wind up looking like a group of leaves or just a mash of colour. I think she's done a really great job with this.
And beautiful sort of butterflies in the hair, and it's really very technically accomplished, and beautiful work.
We look forward to seeing more work from Anna.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Another one of our youth entrants here. This is Lily Abbott and her work Murphy.
Oh, I love this work, because isn't that just how dogs look at you? When they want something, they just sort of look at you with those imploring eyes, and they're just like, give me a treat, or like, take me for a walk. That's so it's like captured that
I'll settle for a pat, okay?
But also just really great use of colour and line, and it's just really dynamic work.
And capture the character of a dog, of all dogs almost, in just a small piece of paper.
Seen that face.
Nice one.
And more dogs, which
more dogs
inspire and give everyone so much joy. And another example of just catching that moment, and the eye of a great photographer being able to see something, and I think this is the dog, and then a local seal who would make a regular.
The local seal named Henry, I believe.
Yes.
The dog's name, well, actually, we should go over there. The artist's name is Leonard Yarnold, with the work Dog and Seal. I think the dog's name's Ellie May. Ellie May saw the local seal off the beach and decided to race it along the water, which is such an endearing image and expertly captured here.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, next up, I guess. No, it's not the halfway point. No, that's completely wrong. We're just down this end of the gallery. I guess I'll take a moment to mention that the exhibition is open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday throughout the week for the next 2 weeks. So please come on in and see it. Bring your friends or family. Even though you've seen the work now, I promise you it's much different and much better in real life. I'm sure it looks good, but it just goes next level in real life. So please come on in. You can check the Mill's website for opening hours. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday. This one is by Amanda McLeod, and it's called Patchwork Woman. There's some really lovely words from Amanda that she's had in talking about the work that she's written here. A reminder to all to patch your own soul when it is broken and to never give up, which is a really important message, especially at the moment, in all days, but especially at the moment.
And I think also, the power of art and making to, I guess, to help process difficult moments in time, or the idea of, I know that for many artists that we've worked with, or artists that we've got to know over time, that art can really be a tool for survival, and often either the act of making something or putting something together and then creating something from that difficult time is why art is so important and so powerful. And I think this work, captures that gesture, the idea of the sort of the patchwork woman. And I think at the top, you probably can't see the writing from there, but it says, "Patch up your broken soul where you are torn, sew yourself whole." And it's and also all these sort of wonderful found or maybe collected or buttons and sort of beads and elements have all been sort of put together on that sort of female torso and painted in. So it's makes me think of a wonderful artist called Annabelle Collette, who would also really think about sort of the female artist and also the relationship to sort of making and fashion and other things, and this sort of idea of the sort of patchwork quilt, bringing it all together. So really interesting work.
It actually, I feel, at least thematically, leads quite well into the next work, Caitlin Lenartowicz, and the work is entitled Happiness Within. And I don't know what it is about this work, but there's something about it that it makes me feel like the power that art has to have a cathartic effect for us. There's just so much, I guess, happiness and joy radiating out of this portrait, which may be a self-portrait, may not be, but in a similar way, the act of making, as you were talking about, in its importance to survival as humans and how we get by in the world, making sense of the world around us, and how much joy and happiness that can bring as well. And that art is sort of a record of our time, and sometimes what remains in many cases. But I agree. That's what struck me about this portrait, is that the figure, or whether it's a self-portrait or of a friend, she looks you straight in the eye with such sort of clarity and composure and confidence, and it's that sort of direct, looking back and sort of meeting the viewer with I guess so much sort of potential. So it's a
refreshing work.
It is, yeah. Well, there's a lot to be unhappy about if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
It's also nice to look for something happy and find it too. Yeah.
But then it's also good to reflect on moments of sort of teen angst, which I think many of us can relate to. And
so this work is by Amber Jane Mills. It's called A Look Inside My Mind. I think, as Leigh mentioned, the teen angst and I mean that period of time that all of us go through in our lives is very well represented here.
Yeah, that sort of uncertainty of standing over a sort of, a sort of crack and chasm in the ground, and even I love even the flowers look sort of haunted or tormented with their little squiggly creepy faces, and but also I think there's a lot of promise in that, because the flowers are still growing out of these cracks where nothing grows, and it's almost like weeds or things that no matter what the conditions are, that they still find a way to sort of grow. So I think even though it seems quite dark, I think there's still sort of things are growing. Things are growing. The sun's coming out, there are butterflies as well, and that feeling of just being sort of pigeon-toed, hat like covering your face, not wanting to be seen, wearing oversized clothes, like that feeling of wanting to sort of maybe disappear into like a crevasse or something, but that there's all these other things that might keep you going.
There's a nice tension in there between the hopeful and the abysmal or the catastrophic.
Totally. Maybe the sort of touch of a butterfly on your shoulder. But it's great. A lot of pathos in that. I like it.
Okay, so next one we have Drew Sinton, called Wonderland Adelaide. I think Drew is originally from Melbourne, moved over to Adelaide quite a number of years ago. I remember chatting to him about it. It really does look like an imaginary place, like a made-up world or a staged photograph or something. But Drew grew a fascination with mushrooms and went out looking for them and found this one in real life.
Yeah, I know. We were just like, it almost looks like an illustration, because it looks like sort of an illusion or a piece of fiction or something. But I think you said that what I love about this work is that I guess for Drew, for the artist, that they represent a moment of sort of change and possibility, because he said when he moved from SA to Melbourne, when he was wandering around Adelaide, he saw lots of mushrooms growing, took photos, and they symbolised to him moments of rebirth at that time as well. So whilst that time of change, when you're moving to a new place, you don't know people, but then seeing the mushroom almost accompanying you on that journey as and sort of growing again, like like the work before, they sort of grow almost out of nothing and can sort of sprout.
And sometimes they benefit from the dark. Right.
Yeah, they thrive in the dark.
And this thing of beauty comes out.
No, great photo, lots of detail.
That's one that you really need to see in real life, because the little tiny details are really evident there. All right, next up we have Siobhan Mckenzie, and a pretty stunning painting, I think.
It's terrific.
So this one's called Looking into the Future. So Siobhan's dad's family is from Adnyamathanha country, out of Flinders Ranges.
Sort of see that, and makes you think about the colour palette of Albert Namatjira as well, and but it's a very thoughtful work as well, where she said that it's a depiction of an elder sort of looking over and protecting the next generation, as well as sort of looking into the future together. And and looking across the landscape and across history and time as well. So
no matter how many paintings of faces like this I see, I still get I'm still impressed by the thoughtfulness that can be put, and the amount of thought and emotion coming from a painted face. Looking over, especially one with the cultural and heritage that comes along with Siobhan and her family, looking over this country where her people have been there for hundreds of thousands of years. It's pretty remarkable to be able to distill all of that down into one glance on a face.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's I thought there's a really lovely comment that Siobhan made, about this work in particular, and she said that I feel as though I've grown as an artist since doing this painting, and feel a sense of pride when looking at it because of the cultural connection that I have with it. So quite a significant work.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to 10 years into the future, Siobhan, to see what you're doing and where, how this painting has launched you as an artist. Yeah. Nice. Next, we have another work by Lloyd Jackson. When I say another work, it is the only work by Lloyd Jackson, sorry. Misspoke there. This one is untitled, but has some really, really incredible line work all through it. There's a lot of patience that's been demonstrated in the making of this work. And again, stories of Lloyd and his heritage, where he's from, and his family, which is very important to him. Yeah,
and as an Aboriginal artist, and combining both, a landscape with emu and sort of grass tree, and that, but then also the sort of the colours of the Aboriginal flag, the sort of the black, the yellow and the red, and then being sort of encircled by the sort of the rainbow serpent and the dream time. So this sort of moment at the end of the day perhaps, with a fire and cooking, and but then thinking about sort of deep time and the stories of the dream time being almost sort of enclosing and keeping safe that scene almost.
Yeah, that's a lovely way of looking at it. Absolutely.
So many different techniques as well. It's really great.
Yeah.
Good work.
Next up, we have Blueprint by Alyssa. I think as a hip hop fan, I'm always a fan of a Jay-Z portrait. And the I guess the digital street art kind of method behind this one really has a very strong connection to hip hop and that whole ethos as well.
And the sort of the black and white and the sort of graphic element, but that sort of that glance from under the cap, and but it's sort of straight away you're like, know that it's Jay-Z. So really captured that portrait really well as well. So, and choosing the size, I guess when artists choose the scale that they want to do things on, it's really interesting that he's been sort of blown up to this scale. So sort of really looking sort of not down, but sort of surveying, looking across across the gallery. So, it sort of follows you.
He lets you know who's boss.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, Jay-Z's boss. But really, Beyonce's boss.
Well, I would say the other way around. I think Beyonce is the boss of Jay-Z.
Yeah. Or just the boss.
Just the boss. Anyway, we can continue our Beyonce Jay-Z discussion after the art exhibition. Next up, we've got here Karen Beale's work, Max. This one is pretty spectacular in terms of the technical expertise shown by pencil
line work and mark making, and just such detail and concentration, almost sort of forensic study of a German Shepherd, and capturing everything down to sort of the jowls and the, and that expression, and even down to the sort of, veins in the ear of the dog. But yeah, really, impressive
Impressive technical skill.
Yeah.
And you can tell the amount of love that has been put into this. There's got to be a fair bit of love for good old Max there too, I reckon.
It's a beautiful portrait of Max and incredible graphite drawing.
Well done, Karen. Next up here we have Craig Finnis and his work Depression, the Other Side, which I think is it's a really lovely, vulnerable self-portrait there that Craig's done. I know that he's done a bit of work in many different media and has recently come to photography.
Well, I love the sort of the pathos and the sort of the texture and that surface, which is sort of, feels like it's sort of, scratched in, and so you have that feeling of the, of a sort of dissonance in a way, through the way that he's manipulated the surface of that, and then, sort of looking outside of the frame into some, indeterminate space as well, but then, showing himself close up as well, but then in the sort of the black and white. But I love the texture and the shadow, the sort of the contrast with the bright, the bright elements and that sort of dark space in the back, sort of on your shoulder in the background. So it looks like what seems a simple portrait, but once you start unpacking it, you see all these other elements. So and a sort of moment of vulnerability as well. So
having come from a dark space.
It's got a lot in there.
I look forward to more photography from you, Craig. All right. Next up, Susan Cox with Mars Jumper. This one's pretty fun.
As well as it looks very fun, but for anyone who's ever knitted or ever tried to knit a jumper, let alone a jumper with a complex pattern with text in it, knows that this is really, really hard to do. So I was pretty much everyone's going to be putting in orders, so hopefully.
I hope you're ready, Susan, for the orders, because they'll be coming in. But I mean, an incredible amount of work. I think the estimate was around 35 minutes per line.
Per row,
per row, but I mean, I'm going to put my estimate at, if I made it through, at least an hour and a half a row. Changing the colours that many times, and the story behind it is quite lovely as well, having lived near the Mars factory in Ballarat, I think it was.
For about 4 years, and that Mars bar is one of Susan's favourite chocolates, and she said would always give her a good sugar boost and a pep in her step. So and we all know that Mars is
it's the ultimate pep in your step.
It's the go-to. It's the go-to when you're having that afternoon lull, but also the sort of the colours, and shows what an accomplished knitter she is as well. That really takes many years of knitting, and to be able to do that without a pattern, it means you have to, as you're going along, work it out as well. So technically very, very difficult, as well as just a joyous jumper that I think we all want to wear.
And personally, I'm really excited to see some textile work that's been submitted as well. So it's always great to see textile artwork submitted. So
absolutely.
And then just below Mars, we have Neville Highfold and his work Nunga Frill Neck Blizzard. Neville is a Ghana man, and I guess equally talented. I mean, there's so many multi-talented artists in the show, but I think this was one of the first goes he had at sculpture. It's not typically done a lot of sculpture.
But super impressive. Like, we're looking at all the different techniques, from using the sort of the metal sort of gauze, and then the welding, but then all the capturing the scales of the lizard, and then even the sort of underbelly with this sort of twisted twisted metal that captures the scales and the scales in the light, perhaps. But then using this sort of tubing of metal that have been cut, and then welding it together into this wonderful tail. And so so many sort of inventive techniques, and then really sort of capturing that moment when the lizard sort of in a moment of either sort of defense or fear sort of shows its frill neck. So capturing that right on its sort of hind legs, ready to go. So a lot of dynamism in that work. Well done.
All right. This next work is by Elaine Roberts, and it's called Elvis in the Arty. And I probably shouldn't admit to this, but it is actually one of my favourites in the exhibition. You've got to love all your children equally, but this one, there's something about
that sort of tender moment.
It's such a beautifully captured tender moment. The palette that she's used, like, who would have thought to combine that like blue of the background with the browns in the suit, and and then just these moments of like the sort of confidence of an artist that can just sort of quickly sketch a face in pencil, mark that all out, and then that sort of filling it in with the paint, but all these sort of quite effortless gestures to build up that picture and that sort of moment of sort of tenderness. It's reminds me of a lot of Richard Lewis' work, who has these sort of vignettes of different moments in time that are always slightly curious. You're not exactly sure what's going on, but that's what makes them even more interesting. I was just about to say, like, one of my favourite things to happen in an artwork is for me to go, what's going on there? Have that kind of curious question moment where you're not quite sure. There's something, and
keeps bringing you back in again. Because it's like, where are they? What are they doing? What's she fiddling with? Why is he in his underpants? Always a question, but No, it's a small but powerful little work.
On from a small, powerful work to a big, powerful work. This one's by Jalakman Rai, and the title of the work is Modern Mountains of Nepal. Jalakman is very, I hope he doesn't mind, he's very reserved and shy. He's not one to promote himself at all. He's lovely to chat to once you've got him on, but he's not going to be promoting himself at all. He's got a real quietness to him, which is lovely,
but it all comes out in the painting.
It really does. It really all comes out in the painting. The colours in here and the shapes.
And the sort of the confidence and the texture with a lot of it looks like it's been applied with a palette knife, so you can so you get that sort of texture that feels both building up like the layers, like the geology of the mountains, but then the sort of the lake that moves through the mountains at the bottom, and then this all-seeing eye over here, and the movement of the birds, and it's just an incredibly sort of dynamic and experimental landscape, I think. So there's so much going on, and it moves the eye around so dramatically. So all these peaks keep gradually moving you up through the space until you're sort of on the summit of the mountains. So it
really is a challenge to keep your eye still in one point on the painting while taking this in, because of the lines that go through it. Really there's a lot of movement in there. It's a terrific work, very sort of original, painting style as well. It's great. Alrighty, next up we have Nicole Smith and her work We Are Women Too. I'm kind of don't know where to start. The strength of this woman that's being shown is quite powerful.
And I think that that moment of, I guess, sort of both sort of rolling up your sleeves in a way, but the expression on the expression on the figure's face, sort of looking down, but very thoughtful, very sort of inward looking. But you can see that they're in a hospital bed. With at first it's not obvious, that that's what's going on, and then you sort of look behind, and there's you can see some of the sort of machinery, and it looks like a
some tubing coming down.
Some tubing, must be like a scene from the experience of perhaps being in in a hospital. But wonderful sort of technique, the sort of the pastels and the in the shirt and the scarf, but just the pathos and the expression in the face is just so so emotional, I think. Really sort of profound.
So much determination expressed.
Yeah, but I think it's a really striking work.
Next up we have Jungle Phillips. Jungle's work is bursting with colour. It's called Spot the Dog. Now I have managed to spot the dog. I don't want to show off, but you might have to. We might not spend too long on this work, so you have to come in to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jungle's one of those really. What's the word? Compulsive painters, like just
and prolific,
just always making and making and making.
Yeah, no, it's I love it. It's such a sort of dense work. It's so full of so many different characters and eyes that sort of are looking or moving you around, and that fills every single element of every single square of the canvas. Luke was playing a trick on me, and he told me there were 4 dogs, and I could only find one, but I spent a long time looking for the other 3. But I'm glad to know that there is only one dog, and he's super cute if you find him. Yeah, should we point him out?
I don't think so.
No,
I think
not giving it away.
You got to come in.
Yeah.
Come in and spot the dog.
Yeah.
But it's great to have Jungle's relentless painting represented in the show.
Yeah. So many faces and characters. Yeah. Another fantastic portrait. This one is by Anton Mccotter, and it is titled Anton. So that leads me to believe it is a self-portrait. Yeah.
I mean, this one, what's the word? The character that is expressed in such a relatively small picture is really incredible. I
think it's sort of like the sort of the graphic lines that are it looks it's done on a computer, but it has that sense of like a charcoal. It's got the sort of thickness of sort of charcoal or sort of pastel as well, but just these sort of confident marks. Just being able to capture a self-portrait, and it's
and the way it fills up the whole frame as well is really great. It does have that confidence, like here I am, that kind of thing that you were alluding to.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yep.
I really like it. Great use of colour too.
Alrighty, we're going to move now. I'll move over here. We're going to move now to the written works that we received in the writing category. So this one here is by Frankie Starling. So Frankie actually submitted a short story. It's called The Shy, Friendly Little Monster. And it's a story about courage, really, which is I guess, especially important today and every day. But it's a really beautiful story. And unfortunately, we didn't have time to include it, but Frankie's actually done a number of drawings and artworks to go along with the story.
Oh, wonderful! So illustrated it.
So she's illustrated it as well, you know, the illustrations she's done have a really lovely painterly quality to them. And so definitely a name to remember. Keep your eye out for her book one day.
Yeah.
And please do take the time to come on in and read the story. I guess it's a little bit sad that you know, we can't have people in here tonight, especially for the written works, because you need that time to spend with them to read through it. But
I think
it's
there's a
worth
lovely
a trip.
sort of line at the end that maybe you want to, you know, sort of that sort of sums up that moment of courage where I think it says, "You may not be anything like me and be from a different world, but I know in my heart that you and I won't ever be lonely again," thought the shy, friendly, and now very happy little monster. And so it's that, you know, captures that moment of reaching out, making friends with someone that you might have been scared of and intimidated by at first, and often it's like that. I'm sure we all have situations where the person that you're most intimidated by, you end up becoming, you know, the best friends with. Sometimes it takes just someone to reach out. So, it's a lovely story.
Maybe before we go on to the next, can we do a 180 degrees and get Peter Pasfield's boat model here?
You're doing an excellent job, Chloe.
Yeah, thanks, Chloe.
Very skillful manoeuvring of the camera around the space.
Yes, this work is from Peter Pasfield, called Boat Modelling, and it's not going to take a lot to see how much work was involved in making this.
Much detail and knowledge, from the sort of rigging of the trawl boat, and you know, the nets to, you know, the anchors, and even the little life buoys on the side of the boat. Into, you know, if you get up close, you can actually see inside the boat to the controls, where, you know, there's the steering wheel and, you know, all the sort of controls for, you know, the skipper. So just obviously a great, you know, knowledge of boats and nautical
an ode
knowledge.
to the boat, I would say.
So much detail and great sort of, you know, colour and painting, and can tell he really enjoyed making it as well. It's a great sculpture. So many elements, you know, wood and metal and rope and nets, and has found a lot of, you know, obviously found, you know, the actual rope and, you know, the orange, you know, marine rope and things like that.
Okay, let's come across back to the writing again now. So this is a poem. It's by Dr. Naomi Blake, and it's called Ode to the Cavalier. Naomi owns a couple of Cavaliers, King Charles Cavaliers, and this is an ode to them, I think. But the words in the poem really, I think, speak for companionship and those sort of things that, you know, anyone who owns a dog or loves a dog like me knows that dogs bring to one's life, and the importance of you know, that
loyalty and, you know, comfort and company, and you know, give you so much you know, care, and I think what I found, you know, was really, you know, interesting reading it is particularly the last stanza. You know, Dr. Naomi Blake writes that, you know, the dogs would comfort when anxious, lift when depressed, and you know, medically when I need you, I'm totally blessed. And also talks about, you know, having diabetes, and you know, it's become an amazing thing that dogs can sense and smell diabetes, and so they've been used in many cases to be able to you know, when the blood sugar level is low, that's something that dogs can sense, and they can alert their owners about that. So, which is like unbelievable. Yeah. So, and you know, obviously, you know, whether or not that's the case with these dogs, but I'm sure that.
Well, I mean, it does, like like you're saying, you know, monitoring, waking, and encourage me strongly to take charge and undertake to do what I need to. So,
which is just you know, phenomenally, you know, joyful story as well. You know?
Is.
And so amazing, you know, that the dogs can be that sensitive and aware, and can help with something, you know, as complex as diabetes. Amazing. So really interesting and very thoughtful. You know, ode to the Cavalier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is by Belinda Cole. And it's called If I Could Go Back in Time. This one, I have to really commend Belinda for her, I guess, her honesty and bravery, because you know, there's some things there in the poem that she's talking about that would have been very difficult things to communicate, and experiences of unfortunately far too many women in society, and it's an incredibly brave poem that I think speaks volumes of her strength.
And to you know, to think back to different times in her life, and then also, you know, share and let other people know that she's had these experiences of you know, domestic violence, but then, you know, being in another place now, and saying that it's, you know, that it's going to be okay, but you know, it takes a lot to share those things with other people, and to let other people know that you've been through that. So you know, a very, you know, that, and says, you know, starts with, if I could go back in time, but I wouldn't change anything. So it's a really poignant work. Piece of writing.
And there's a mention in there of the importance that, I guess, to blow community housing's horn just for a minute, the importance of community housing in that journey that she's been through, which I guess leads nicely on to the next one, by Annie Fox. This one's called Home Safe. I would like a special shout out to Annie. She was going to do a live reading of this poem for the opening night, until we had to reformat the opening night. So thank you for being willing to do that, and putting your hand up to do that, Annie. We would have really loved to have you here to read it for a crowd of people. But it's a lovely work that you've written there, and talking about home and what that means to you.
One of the lines that I really loved in this one was where Annie writes, "I am queen of my own tiny house planet in our street universe." It just, you know,
what
captures,
an amazing,
you know, such a, so it's you know, really, you know, beautiful sort of summary of that idea of, you know, being your own, queen of your own place and space.
It's lovely. So the next one is by Leigh Bassem, and this one again, we were very lucky / unlucky to receive so much amazing writing, because narrowing it down was a big challenge, and I'm again glad I wasn't on the judging panel to have to make those decisions. But I mean, this one is, I guess, a little shorter, comparatively speaking, so you may get time to read it on screen if you can make it out. But there's some really beautiful pictures that are conveyed through the words here. And the flow. Look, I'm going to be honest and say I'm not a poet. I don't know that much about poetry, but I really enjoy reading the flow of words and how they fit together and relate to one another and move from one bit to the next. And this was a really enjoyable read.
And very visual. The sort of skiing down a white marzipan brow. Incredible visuals, I think, as well.
Absolutely.
Very original.
This next one is called New Moon. Oh gosh, I can't.
You're nearly there. New Moon Consume. It's almost a tongue twister. By Amber Mills.
So Amber is also the artist who did the drawing, which is actually almost opposite down the other end of the gallery, and I think shows a pretty broad
creative capacity. From words to visual art. So
and to use the giving her his last light until he's submerged, inky depths engulfed, such a beautiful way to describe the changing of the moon.
And illustrated as well.
Yes. All right, this is the penultimate work. So thanks for sticking around, everyone. This one is by Amanda McLeod, and it's called Fable or Future. And I guess this reads to me like an ode to Earth. As a planet, there's a lot of, I guess, environmental tones coming through this one from Amanda. And someone that I guess really cares about the environment and sustainability of the planet. I mean, for me, it's a reminder and an inspiration to keep caring and to keep doing everything that I can to care for the planet that I live on. We all live on, we all share.
Very talented and diverse, from the Patchwork Woman to thinking about from the self to the environment. Very sort of broad range, and thinking about fable or future, a sort of provocation for us all, I think.
Absolutely. Alrighty, the lucky last and definitely not least. We have a work by Zachary Studley called The Twisted Trump Cards.
Yeah, it's super cool. They've created their own deck of cards and characters for, King, Queen. How good is the Joker?
Yeah.
That's the Joker's amazing, and the Ace. Which almost looks like you don't want to get the ace when normally you do. But super cool menacing character there, and and then across
all the aces are tentacled creatures. Which there's something quite scary but also fun about that. I know from chatting with Zach and his mum that he spends a lot of time drawing and gets like a lot of joy out of that as well. You can tell that even though there's like a little bit of almost like menacing spookiness in this, there's also quite a lot of fun and vibrancy too.
And a great, seems to me like references to Japanese anime perhaps, and really great drawing and animation and illustration. So much detail, and that there's different characters across each deck, from the spades to the hearts and the diamond. So not just using the same ones but creating different ones for each suite. So I think they're really cool. I like it a lot.
So I think that is all of the work of the exhibition.
So thank you for joining us on it's 7:00, so we've just come to the end of our time. But I don't know, Chloe, if there's any questions or anything we need to address? No, we're all good. Well, thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. Thank you again. A massive thanks to all of the artists that submitted work. This obviously would not have happened without you